Tesla has finally launched its Robotaxi service in Austin, Texas. Uber and Lyft drivers like myself are wondering, how will this affect our ability to make money and what should we expect for the future of rideshare? In today's video, we're going to focus on the Robotaxi experience. We'll also compare the Robotaxi head-to-head with other Uber and Lyft drivers from the customer perspective, and at the end, I'll share my financial roadmap that I'm using to protect myself and to prepare myself for the future world of self-driving cars that's already here. Let's get started with first-hand accounts from people who were at the Robotaxi launch. Riders specifically talked about the smoothness of the ride.
It rides super smooth, behaves very human-like.
They also described how the car handles speed bumps perfectly.
So we just went over a bump here and the car very nicely went over it, very smoothly.
And how it makes calculated, precise turns that a human driver, no matter how good, just doesn't replicate.
Oh, we got a pedestrian, but it's still gonna come and go. Wow, look at that.
While people did have great things to say about it, not everything ran as perfect as people would like you to believe.
Here's a Robotaxi driving into oncoming lanes. It misses a left turn and decides to just go straight ahead into the wrong lane and just keep going.
And while that seems to be an isolated mistakes, there were other smaller, more common issues.
So off we go. We got dropped off. You got my bag?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Diego. Thank you, buddy. Okay, so we're behind this bus stop here, and looks like we got dropped off right here at the corner. Let's see how it handles this.
He is stuck.
You guys know we're not lying because we have that stopwatch going. Whoa, all right, so we just slammed on the brake. I'm not exactly sure what just happened.
Generally speaking, from a safety perspective, I would say the Robotaxi event did pretty well, but there's something we had to consider. The Robotaxi launched with a safety monitor.
But there won't be a safety driver in the car.
Correct.
Oh, we got an interesting situation. The UPS car is coming very, very close to us.
But there won't be a safety driver in the car.
Correct.
There's not going to be somebody sitting there.
Right.
But there's something I noticed from the launch detail that every single safety monitor was doing. They all kept their right hand resting on the passenger door handle no matter what. The common thought out there is that this is some form of emergency braking that the safety monitors have access to. Also, keep in mind these safety monitors were sitting in the front passenger seat and not the driver's seat. And to some people's disappointment, this detail kind of proves that the Tesla Robotaxi isn't ready for true autonomous driving.
But there won't be a safety driver in the car.
Correct.
Right? The car, it won't, there's not going to be somebody sitting there.
Right.
But you did have ads for vehicle operator autopilots. What was that about then? Are there going to be people who are remotely sort of monitoring the performance of the fleet?
Yeah.
I think it's okay if they have people that can remote into the cars and control them, that's fine. But one of the things people want from a self-driving car is that there is no awkward personality in the front. For now, it seems like the safety and consistency are the barriers holding Robotaxis back from launching at full scale. But that doesn't mean that what they launched with isn't anything to worry about. Elon Musk has specifically stated that Tesla would be super paranoid about the Robotaxi safety in Austin. As a result, they are operating in a limited area.
Now, when it comes to service areas, you can see Teslas right here in the darker shade and Waymos in the light blue.
It's important to note that Waymo covers the University of Austin and about double the size of what Tesla does. It's also important to note that Waymos are currently able to drive around town without a safety monitor in Austin. The need for human oversight proves that it's not as reliable as a Waymo yet. That doesn't mean it won't be in the near future. And to be honest, that's okay. This is just where Robotaxis are starting. The important part to consider is that a new threat to rideshare drivers has been launched. Thinking about the event objectively is how we figure out how Robotaxi's advancements will impact us at scale. Speaking of scale, Robotaxis have a three-part advantage that allows them to scale in a way no one else can. While we rideshare drivers have to purchase our own cars, Tesla controls their own costs. Every dollar they save on manufacturing is a dollar they can use to undercut your fares. And probably the biggest secret weapon that we rideshare drivers have to look out for is that Tesla wants to turn Tesla owners into the competition, potentially creating a massive new supply of cars that could have dramatically lower prices. They've mentioned that people who own certain models of Tesla will be able to put their cars on the Robotaxi network. If they were to allow this, and they had the proper clearance to have Robotaxi across the nation, they could flip a switch overnight, and that will cause massive saturation in the rideshare market. And I don't think it's a far off problem in some distant future. For example, in San Francisco, Waymo has already surpassed Lyft in market share. Now let's talk about the cars that Tesla was using for the Robotaxi event. They were using specifically modified Model Ys. But the real problem is that these cars aren't the production cars that they told us about. The fact that the Cybercabs wasn't ready for the launch event shows that Tesla isn't where they hope to be. Still, even if it costs more and arrives later, it still represents the ultimate low-cost vehicle that's designed to replace us. So how does the Robotaxi actually stack up against human drivers today? The Tesla Robotaxi app has a tip button, but when you actually try to tip, it says, just kidding. When it comes to rideshare drivers, we know we love our tips, and one of our biggest complaints is when someone says, hey, we'll tip you in the app, and then it never happens. While tipping isn't required, there is a social obligation or social pressure that passengers feel in order to do so. With the Robotaxi, they don't experience that. So that's one point towards why someone would prefer a Tesla Robotaxi over getting in a car with an Uber and Lyft driver. Next, let's take a look at the in-car experience. With the Robotaxi, it's always quiet, if you want it to be quiet, and it's typically going to be smoother, and if not smoother, at least more consistent. The passenger always gets to sync their own Spotify account without asking for permission. It does it automatically, it does it before you even get into the car, and it also includes other media apps that you might have on your phone. With that in mind, the Robotaxi comes out on top compared to human drivers. But what about getting picked up and dropped off? This is one of the basic parts of rideshare. With Uber and Lyft, a passenger can drop a pin in a specific part of a confusing parking lot, or they can tell you, hey, can you just let me out here? Right now, its app doesn't even allow for pin drops, only street addresses, which can lead to stopping a block away from the passenger or in the middle of a parking lot, as you can see in these examples.
I couldn't go in here and like drop a pin on a location. I had to type in Sonic and then pick the one with the right address in order to get to that one specifically. It would be nice to be able to like select a location. So like here, if I exit out of those, like you can't go to Family Dollar and just like tap on that.
For some, not all, this minor inconvenience could be the difference between, I'm gonna order an Uber and Lyft on this rainy day, or I'm gonna go with Robotaxi. For the ability to handle real-world complexity and find the passenger right where they are, round 3 is clearly gonna go towards the human driver. So we have 2 for the Robotaxi, 1 for the human drivers. Something else that we have to consider is that the Robotaxi has a tiny service area and can't go to the airport and shuts down in bad weather. At least that's what the website says. It may or may not be available based off of inclement weather. Since it's been out, there hasn't been bad weather, so we'll still have to see how that goes. So in terms of flexibility, that's another point for the human driver. However, be aware, as technology progresses, these self-driving cars will catch up to us. They'll be able to have bigger service areas, and that's going to be a problem for us. But what about safety? How does Robotaxis compare to human drivers? The data suggests that autonomous vehicles are involved in less severe accidents, but data doesn't always translate into feeling safe. A recent AAA survey shows only about 13% of people trust riding in a self-driving car. That hesitation, that preference for a human is a massive advantage for us right now. Studies also show that once someone tries a Robotaxi or a self-driving car, their trust for that platform increases. So what's the final verdict? Is this the end? Is rideshare over? Not today, but it surely is the beginning of the end of rideshare as we know it. The real race isn't Robotaxi versus human drivers. The real race is Tesla's scaling timeline versus your financial timeline. But I don't want to end on a doom and gloom note. So I'm going to share with you my financial roadmap that I'm using to escape rideshare. The first thing I want you to do is to open up a separate checking account only for rideshare. Income in, expenses out. Pay yourself a set amount, and what's left over is the profit. That profit's job is to pay down your debt. Once you have that set up, your first goal is to get $1,000 for your business account for car emergencies and $1,000 in your personal account for life emergencies. Now this is just your starter emergency fund. We'll bump it up a little later. Every spare dollar from your business profit should go towards paying off your car loan. Getting that title in your hand is the single most important step to reducing your risk as a rideshare driver. With the car paid off, the next thing you'll do is attack credit cards and student loans, if you have those. Once those are paid off, you want to go ahead and build up that fund to a full 6 months of living expenses. With no debt and a 6-month safety net, you've essentially won the financial race in figuring out how to use Uber and Lyft as a stepping stone to something else. For myself, the only thing I have left is student loans, and I might have that paid off this year. As you can see, I just became a dad this year and I haven't worked in 6 weeks. That's because I paid off the car loans, I don't use credit cards, I don't have a lot of debt, and my payments are very low. So I was able to save up, take time off to spend with my daughter. And I want you to be in a position to where you work for Uber and Lyft because you want to, and not because you're trapped and you have to. You want some financial freedom. And who knows? Maybe one day you won't be competing with the Robotaxi fleet. Maybe you'll be in a position to own your own. By mastering your finances, that's how you take a threat and turn it into an opportunity. Now, if you need help, you can subscribe to the channel and become a member to get my rideshare profit tracker. It automatically calculates your true net profit. You can join for 1 month, download it, and then cancel immediately. But if you find my content helpful, I ask that you keep your subscription to support the channel. And if you want to see how the profit tracker works, click on this video. Thanks. So this is the spreadsheet I made that I used to track my mileage and my income.